We're back with another build guide. This time, the fan favorite. A weapon that I've admittedly slept on for far too long. I even gave it a horrible ranking in the tier list video. Granted, that was coming off of the beta, but there's no excuses. That's right, we're talking about the Orb Launcher. We're talking about it finally, ladies and gentlemen. This might be one of the community's favorite weapons, if not the favorite weapon. I still think the minigun is better, but the Orb Launcher definitely brings something to the table. And in this video, I'm going to prove to you and show you why with a few fun builds. We're going to do a pretty serious one and then a goofy, silly little guy build. It's going to be a good one. Ladies, let me tell you. Let me just tell you, okay? But before we get into it, hey, like the video, subscribe so you don't miss out on any future build guides. We still have a handful of weapons left to make our way through. And please, please, please send me enough money to pay off my goddamn car already. I only have like 2 payments left. I'm strapped for cash. Come on now. Support the boy. Whatever happened to boys support boys out here? God damn it. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's move into the serious build first. We're going to be focusing on kind of, I don't want to say a jack of all trades because it's not that, but it is a little bit of a lot of things. Ultimately, we're going to be focusing on projectile speed because the Orb Launcher does start off relatively slow. And we are going to focus on additional projectiles, but not to the point of bullet hell projectiles like we might on some of the past build guides. We don't necessarily want everything, but we do want some additional projectiles and then obviously some damage boosting things. It is also worth noting that the Orb Launcher does have I don't want to say like gravity built in because they all do, but the orbs themselves, the projectiles are pretty heavy. They don't fly off into infinity and they're not very fast. They do fall down. So what's the first thing you might want to get? Well, I'm thinking something like fast shot or even accelerating shot. Both of these things extend the effective distance of your projectiles for any weapon, and they make a big difference here on the Orb Launcher. Then traditional damage boosting things like sharp shot. If you can find damage shot, take that. And then, like I said, with the fire rate things, there's not a lot of options here. It's going to be the same things for every build if you want to increase your fire rate. You got rapid fire as the rare, you've got supercharged as an epic, and then if you want to find a perk, you've got adrenaline, which is for, I think it's about 5 seconds after a kill. At level 1, you get, I think it's a massive 50% fire rate buff after every kill. So that's a fun one to find as well if you can find it. I mentioned I mentioned more projectiles, so here's where that comes in. We're going to be looking for some of the typical ones I look for, but not all of them. I'm thinking split shot, maybe scatter shot, and definitely targeting shot. You could pick up arc shot if you want, but sometimes you want to be able to actually hit that single enemy in the middle. You've got elites, you've got bosses. You're going on a long run, and not a mile. You know, we're not jogging a mile. We're running a marathon here. We're going up to like a solo Nightmare Island 120 type run. Okay, there's going to be some strong enemies, especially with the beta build of the game. If you haven't checked that out, you might want to. We've got crazy Nightmare, well, just run modifiers. You don't have to run them on Nightmare, and you can find some crazy strong enemies in there. You want to be able to focus on one target. So split shot, scatter shot, targeting shot, those are going to keep it nice and tight. You're going to have more damage. You're going to have the additional projectile speed. You're going to melt enemies. And of course, with the perks, you've got the damage increasing perks. I've said them in almost every single video, and let me tell you, I'm going to keep saying them. Gemstone to increase your damage every island. Collector to increase your damage as you collect more perks and perk levels. Checklist to increase your damage for every 25 kills. Power armor to increase your damage for every armor plate you have. And damage combo to increase your damage if you keep a combo going. Obviously, that pairs well with power armor. These things are the bread and butter of most builds. Again, going back to like my top 5 tips, that entry level tip video that I made a while back, and I will have more advanced tips here soon. One of my biggest tips was, guys, this is a damage per second game. That's the name of the game. You got to increase your damage and you got to increase your projectiles per second. Both of those combine into a stronger build. There's a lot of fun things that you can add around it, like stamina, speed demon, other things for movement or crazy additional projectiles, but at the base, at the core of the game, you have to increase the damage per projectile and increase the number of projectiles you can inflict on enemies per second. So that's what we're doing here with the Orb Launcher. It is a very well-rounded weapon, probably A tier at this point, maybe even breaking into S. It's given minigun a run for its money just with the way it scales in longer term games, and this is a good build for that. Now for the fun part, the Goofy Goober build. Goofy Goober build. The silly little guy. You're going to see a full video on this one coming soon. I've got a backlog of videos of recordings that we were doing on streams over the last handful of weeks or even months, really. The big shot orb launcher build. I do not know why, but just like the cluster launcher when I made the lava gun and it big shot just scales really fast and very noticeably, it does the same thing here for the orbs. Instead of a lava gun, it's more of like a water gun or even an ice gun if you want to give an ice element. So that's what we're doing. We are subscribing to the thought process of bigger bullet, better person. It's a little bit wonky. It's not perfect. The hit detection on the massive orb, it doesn't seem like it actually hits on the outside of the orb. It's not perfect. This is not the strongest build for the orb launcher. This is just a fun one to try out if you're feeling something new. So, pretty obvious here. We're going for big shot. That's the main one. You want to stack that to the moon. Level 5 minimum in the first biome or so. If you haven't got it at that point, you might want to restart and try again. Then we've got bouncing shot. There's already, like I said earlier, a decent amount of, what's that universal downward force called? Sir, I think that's called gravity. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, gravity. There's the bullets are heavy as they, by default. So bouncing shot, they're going to bounce everywhere. You can get heavy shot level 1. I wouldn't push it past level 1. Yeah, stack, bouncing shot, and big shot to the moon. Maybe heavy shot level 1, and then obviously you're going to want to get the same damage perks that I mentioned above. If you want to get fire rate, if you want to get additional projectiles, those are all options, but those are secondary side quests, okay? This is not the strongest build, like I said, but it is a really fun one. I do highly suggest you guys start playing with the goofier builds. It is definitely starting to become a thing in this game, I've noticed, where there's a pretty strong meta going on with the types of items you want to find. And while those will give you the fastest results, the fastest way to get wins, and maybe the strongest builds for super long runs, it doesn't hurt to spice it up a little bit and play with some goofier builds. So definitely recommend this one. All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlefish. We've got ourselves a nice strong build and a nice goofy build, a fun one to check out. If you guys enjoyed this, if you thought it was entertaining, click the like button, subscribe to the channel. We've got a handful of weapons left. I think I'm actually only about halfway through these if you're watching these in chronological order. And crazy challenge runs coming up. I gave you a little bit of a hint, but the beta build that's going to hit the main build of the game soon introduces run modifiers as well as a ranking system attached to a point system with those modifiers. You guys remember Halo All Skulls On, Legendary All Skulls On, Lasso? Now we've got Crab Champions, Namo, Nightmare, all modifiers on, and let me tell you, oh my god, it is hard as shit, ladies and gentlemen. If you thought anything about this game was starting to get easy, do not worry. You're about to have your world rocked. If you haven't checked out the beta build yet, by the way, you can just go into your Steam settings, right-click your preferences, just like do a little drop down, click on the beta. You can just do that. But if you want to wait for it to hit main build, then that is coming here pretty soon. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you in the next one. See ya.